I'm Corey Wittig. I'm the digital learning librarian for Carnegie Library of Pittsburgh. I started off as a teen specialist in our teen department at the main library in Oakland, running programs, coming up with programs based on things that the teenagers there were interested in. Did a music discussion group, had an art club. We did a lot of the things that formed what programming has started to become now. This notion of connected learning with the labs is based on teaching teens, how to use different technology and things like that, has really become a lot more central to what we do in teen services. But I would say more than any of that, the focus has really shifted more and more to this idea of mentorship. It's been a word we've used sort of overtly in the labs programming, but our teen specialists are mentors in some very important and explicit ways. Someone like Andre Costello, one of our mentors, who's a musician and a graphic designer, who probably would not have ended up working for the library if not for a job posting looking for a mentor, someone with these different types of skills.
The workshop, like the sort of training where I show them to use like Photoshop or whatever, that first time that they come up after that and then show the interest and ask if they can do that thing, and then you're like, yeah, heck yeah, let's do it. And then having that enthusiasm, then they match that enthusiasm, and then that's whenever they repeat that and keep coming back.
It can be really tempting to just buy a bunch of equipment and think that the programming will, just succeed through the interest level of these shiny new things and filling up a space with 3D printers and things like that. But what that overlooks is the importance of the relationship between the mentor and the youth that, the success of that really hinges on.
You're that friendly adult, so you're not, you're in the space, it's someone teens recognize, it's someone that if a teen has a problem, that you're there you're not there just to give advice, but also to listen. And just being a friendly adult in their lives has a lot, is a really great thing for teens to have.
Something you say to them might be the best thing they've heard all day long. Maybe that they aren't getting that kind of positive influence elsewhere in their lives, and you just never know that you might be the best thing about their day.
Brandy Cox is a teen specialist at the Knoxville branch. This open mic night for Black History Month was something that she was working on for a while.
Throughout the African American culture, self-expression has always been a way for bad things to, not go away, but to learn how to deal with them.
The first time I held a gun is something I'll never forget. I was 8 years old outside shooting at homemade targets with a man I know as my father. To some this may bother, but to me, it was enlightening. Feeling my finger tightening, watching the hammer thrusters that pulse send shockwaves through my body like lightning.
Imprinting on my young mind like a hand in freshly mixed concrete, only later leaving a lasting impression to be broken by something hard to see. That fear was too much, I couldn't take it, there was no use in trying to face it, I can still recall that memory.
They were able to pick their topic, there was no restriction. So we had anywhere from dealing with modern day racism, dealing with fatherless homes. Kennedy, she is from Slippery Rock University and she's a Pittsburgh native. Kennedy told me that I'm gonna do something that I don't really do, and that's talk about my father. Not having a father in her home and being afraid because how will she grow up? Who will she be? How will she be disciplined? How will she be viewed? But she realized at the end of the day, she can still be who she wants to be without her father. And she thanked her mother for being that support system no matter what. The one reaction that we got this year that we didn't get last year was the connection to the youth. When I heard them, yeah, oh, did you hear him say that? Oh yeah, that's real, that's life.
It's consent for each one. A fiend is like a 1 minute man. Watch how fast that he come. Go by word of mouth only. All that phone shit is dead. Every cop is a girl, but you gotta watch out for the fears. Nobody cares if you're big. They'll rob you with lead, get in and out of them deals and stay off the grid. I started thinking the green. I had to get out the red. I had a 20K lawyer and a hungry ass kid. See, I was raised by my father, but I was scared because he's dead. Because I was pushed by the hunger, take my shirt off and see ribs. So I started a business and selling papers to live. Selling work out the U-Haul, the first one to come had dibs. Finally paid my expenses. Had no more to give, but I was locked up and tattered. I got more ink than a squid. But I got a confession. I had a room at the Westin. Staring in a bathroom mirror, really didn't like my reflection. Didn't know my direction. All I want was collections. All I had was the presidents like I had an election. I mean, all my money is cool. I love me some steak and some lobster, but there's someone new on the roster. I gave it up for my daughter. Gotta be there as she grow. The definition of father, the definition of dad. Right now I feel like Mufasa. You feel me? Going from chicks every day. You know what I mean? I just gotta get this all the way real quick.
I knew right then and there, it's just like, that's it.
Teenagers are, what they experience is people being suspicious of them all the time. And if we want to reach kids who are underserved, underprivileged, however you want to look at that, meeting them on the level, treating them like normal people as they are, you know, like showing them some interest and looking past the things that other people in other situations might too often not look past. It feels like such a fundamental kind of simple thing, but from that foundation, you know, can really be built some real trust, you know, an ability to build trust there. There's an idea of youth as digital natives, which I think is really kind of off the mark. Kids who grow up with technology and iPads and things like that, you know, of course they become naturals with it. But, you know, in the public library, so much of what we're trying to do is to reach kids who that's not the case for, who are being left, you know, further behind their peers by not having that access, and they're certainly not digital natives, and they're not going to walk into a space and see these, you know, new tools and shiny objects and feel confident enough to just use them and teach themselves.
The role of the mentor is sort of to get them over that first step. When you pick up a camera for the first time, when you use a 3D printer for the first time, without any guidance, that can lead to a lot of frustration, and it can lead to just not wanting to try that stuff. So a mentor is there to just get the teens over that barrier, which will hopefully allow them to pursue their own interests using this technology.
Modeling that kind of behavior, how you treat one another, you know, how the way you speak to one another, the way you share, the way you demonstrate your knowledge, you know, all of these kind of things can just happen as part of, you know, the modeling that happens between the mentor and the youth, you know, and that's something that I see all the time in the library and in the labs programming.